always on point.
He's a proper character. I mean, Wazzy, I think you said something about a year ago, maybe, that you think he could be the greatest England player ever, which is a massive statement when you think of Sir Bobby Charlton and, you know,
him,
Bobby Moore, yourself, you know, Kevin Keegan, Brian Robs, all the amazing Gazza, David all these players that have played. You said Harry Kane.
Lineker,
yeah, I think.
Lineker, Shearer.
He's obviously.
That's true. Shearer, Lineker, all those great players.
I think just his goals he scored, and as you said then, his performances, he'll go on and get the caps record as well. You'd imagine the caps he's on. I just think how he's evolved as a player is incredible. He reminds me of Cristiano when he was when you were at United when he was younger. And sometimes like he's in a mad angle and he's shooting, and you're like, "What are you doing shooting?" Like you might say, "Pass it," but it doesn't. As you said then, it doesn't bother him. He'll try it again. He'll keep going and both right and left foot. And I just think for me, he's the best player, England player.
Harry Kane, greatest England player ever. That certainly is an interesting statement to make. I don't actually want to disagree with that straight away. It certainly is up for debate. Could he become the greatest England player of all time? Potentially. All depends on how he does in the World Cup with England next summer, because I imagine next summer is going to be his last World Cup. But he certainly could become England's greatest ever player. But it is fiercely debatable. But anyway, we'll get back to Nev, Rooney, Keno and the gang in just a quick second. But remember, if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. Don't forget to click the notification button so that you know when the next Big D video hits. And as ever, if there's something on your mind, if something is bubbling up inside of you that you need to express, please express it in the comments. The Big D reads all of the comments and he's always interested in what is on your mind. Yeah, in this clip, they talk about how brilliant Harry Kane is. I'm not going to waffle on for too much longer. Have a look at the clip. Stick around for after the clip because the Big D is going to be giving his thoughts on what he thinks of Harry Kane and where he ranks in England's greatest players. Here they are.
Kane's goals now are getting to ridiculous.
Yeah. But if he gets injured, I just don't know where England go.
You worked closely with Kane, didn't you? Obviously, when you... Like anyone I've ever... When I speak to who work with him or coaches or people who... They speak so highly of him.
Roy, honestly,
his finishing,
he's a power, and he's a fierce, like a massively fierce determination. Like he's not. This is like he's hard. You're like, almost like I obviously played with Shearer, who's got that sort of like sense of mentality of just like a brick, just solid as a rock all the way through. Kane, I mean, Kane when he played for England when I was there was not the football player that he is now. I mean, the football player he is now is evolved in the last 8 or 9 years, but his character, he was young at the time, relatively young to what he is today, but you could see there was just a meeting, I remember, it was around, there was a tragedy that happened and we were playing France and there was a suggestion to swap kits. I can't remember, I tell you what, it might have been something that happened in France. It might have been the concert, the Paris attacks. And there was a suggestion that France would play in their blue kit and we would play in the away French kit. And Harry Kane, I think it was 21, 22 at the time, said, no, we're playing in the England kit. He said, we'd never, ever go out onto that pitch without the England kit. And I always remember, he wasn't the captain, he wasn't in the leadership group at that time. And I thought, oh.
I think I was the captain, I didn't know.
You know what?
You were. Remember we played Spain?
Yeah.
By Benidorm.
Yeah. Benidorm.
Must be meetings going on.
No, this was a team meeting, Wazza, and it was something that was suggested by one of the, I can't remember it had happened, it from the media or it'd come from the FA. And I remember him just saying, in a very quiet manner, no, we're playing our England kit. We go out there and we're playing. And I just thought, do you know something? Just a little thing. Obviously, he was a great player then as well. He was a great goal scorer. His training, his precision, his mentality. If he missed a chance, it didn't absolutely faze him.
When we're on this pitch and like when they come out and they practice, and I always say to you watch him. We watch some people. You know, they do that shooting and they just shoot. He's never shooting just for shooting. You know, the goalie's either making a great save or it's going in that moment. I think to myself, that's what a centre forward who's just about to play. That's how sharp you should be in that particular warm-up session everyone's watching. And he's always on point.
He's a proper character. I mean, Wazzy, I think you said something about a year ago maybe that you think he could be the greatest England player ever, which is a massive statement when you think of Sir Bobby Charlton and, you know,
Him?
Bobby Moore, yourself, you know, Kevin Keegan, Brian Robson, all the amazing Gazza, David Beck, all these players that have played. You said Harry Kane.
Lineker,
Yeah, I think.
Lineker, Shearer.
I think he's obviously.
That's true. Shearer, Lineker, all those great players.
I think just his goals he scored, and as you said then, his performances, he'll go on and get the caps record as well. You'd imagine the caps he's on. I just think how he's evolved as a player is incredible. He reminds me of Cristiano when he was at United and he was younger. And sometimes like he's in a mad angle and he's shooting, and you're like, "What are you doing shooting?" Like you might say, "Pass it," but it doesn't. As you said then, it doesn't bother him. He'll try it again. He'll keep going and both right and left foot. And I just think for me, he's the best player, England player.
I do. I absolutely love him. I think he's a little bit underrated, even though we're talking about him, how great he is. And there was always that thing about trophies, wasn't there?
Do you think that's why people think like that?
I think an interesting one, right here, I know you've just mentioned it, you know, Shearer was almost like the centre forward, wasn't he, of the Premier League. When the Premier League started, it felt like Shearer for sort of 6 or 7 years was like sort of the guy, and he was England's guy and he's most goals in the Premier League. And I think if you ask most people up and down the country, Shearer or Kane, I think the majority would go with Shearer. For me, I've always been Kane. Shearer's amazing, but I don't know what you can say against Kane. You know, he's gone to Bayern Munich and he's getting they're like Ronaldo, Messi level.
He broke their records.
Yeah, and it's like he's going to get more goals and caps than sort of Lineker, Shearer, Jimmy Green, you know, all the great you. And it's like, what hasn't the lad done? You know, what can you throw at him? You know, people say he didn't score he didn't win a trophy, I should say.
There is a big club bias. Having played for Liverpool, Arsenal and United, if you don't play for one of those three clubs, and I saw this when I was with England, I think when Sven was the manager, and I think it became apparent, you don't get the same, I don't know what it is, because he's not won the trophy, he's been with Tottenham. Now he's obviously gone off to an amazing club, a huge club, and he's a little bit off sort of radar. There's an element of that. It's a big club bias, it's a element of snobbery. But he's definitely I think you play for Liverpool, United or Arsenal, you've certainly got more scrutiny, you've got more publicity, you've got more PR, you've got more just noise around you, whereas actually Tottenham can play on Saturday against Brentford at home, and that game might go a little bit unnoticed. No Arsenal, Liverpool or United game really goes unnoticed, and Tottenham are a massive club, but just don't have that same level as obviously those three. Do you think that could be a bit of it?
Yeah, there could be something in that. And I actually think there's this thing about Kane, and probably ask you, Wayne, you're probably better than most of us to answer that in terms of in the biggest game. So I think there's a lot of cup finals, maybe he hasn't scored enough. You know, maybe that's that one thing, if you could win the Champions League for Bayern Munich, you know, get the goal in the final or something. Is that something maybe you look at yourself? You know, you've been there and scored in Champions League finals. Would you look at that?
Yeah, but I think he's probably been in the underdog team in the finals, hasn't he? When he played Liverpool in the Champions League final.
Yeah.
You weren't expecting Tottenham to win. I weren't expecting Tottenham to win the game, and you could throw that at him, but I just think, you know, what he's doing.
His numbers just override all of that, you think, his numbers? Because we consider
His football, Roy. His game now is unbelievable.
But then look at Ronaldo.
I know, but if you're trying to compare strikers sometimes, you do have to look at numbers. Them stats are pretty... his numbers are amazing. So sometimes you have to talk about, well, has he not scored these finals or he's played for Spurs? Yeah, all this part of the conversation. But look at his stats for goals. It's just speaks for itself, really.
I agree. I think the numbers he's getting is incredible, mate.
The thing I love about him as well is I know he's been top goal scorer in the World Cup, wasn't he? But sometimes you watch him in tournaments and he can look a little bit sluggish. I think sort of the end of the season, the heat, pitches are a bit dry. Do you know what I mean? He can look a bit sluggish and he gets written off a little bit after tournament. A bit like, okay, we've got to move on from Kane. And he's just there again, isn't he? The next tournament, he's just like, there's no one else. No one's taking.
What age is he now? What age?
He's got that mindset, hasn't he?
Yeah.
That like the last two games, I didn't think he should have even been in the squad.
Was he, Jay?
I thought you said go and have a holiday the last two games.
But he's got that winter. He's got the winter break this year for Bayern. I think that will certainly help him.
There is an element of towards the end. There's definitely a thing that towards the World Cup he has at times tailed, or before tournaments he has tailed towards the end of a season. That this is definitely his better period. my feeling is, having sort of worked with him, that he does tend to, because he's put so much, he plays every game, never misses, he gives everything in training every day, and there is an element of probably mental and physical tiredness coming towards the end. So if he can get that winter break.
But why didn't he step back from playing every game? For example, for England, when England played the real lesser teams, I'm all about in friendlies, why doesn't he sit out some of them?
He's scoring those goals, isn't it?
No, I get it. We're talking about Ronaldo, Messi, they want to play in every game, and obviously we give him a thumbs up for that. But if you're on about peaking at the right time, then there has to be an element where you go, you've evolved your game. You've gone to Bayern and maybe diets and different types of training, and he's playing for the best team over there. So it's not like Spurs. He's probably getting more chances. He's maybe not working as hard to get back. But come towards the end of the season, when England have 1 or 2 friendlies before the game, just sit out a couple of these games and make sure you're ready for the more important matches. So I give him a thumbs up for wanting to play every match. Ronaldo's the same, and Messi, these boys are fantastic. But there must come a point where you go, we're just going to ease you for 1 or 2 games.
Right, I think that should have come from Tuchel. I think the last 2 England games, I don't think he should have been there at all. And he's going to want to be there. So I think Tuchel,
but
I think that he should have just left him out.
Coming from you though, Wazza, I find that a bit rich, because if a manager if someone tried to have a word with you, I remember towards the end of your career with England, if Roy tried to have a word with you to say, look, you were never accepting that. You would never accept not playing.
That's where I know I wouldn't have. I know Harry Kane wouldn't have. But I think that's where the manager's got to take control of it and say.
Is that a lack of respect to the staff?
Yeah, but then you get the newspaper aspect of it. I say he's trying to rest Wayne. Wayne doesn't want to rest. Rooney defies manager.
But I think if he actually sits him down, he's experienced enough now, obviously, to
yeah, but he never disrespected managers. But what he did say is, no, I'm playing. He would just be, I want to play.
Well, that's disrespect. That's fucking disrespect.
It's not disrespect. It's not.
Well, if your manager says to you, you're not playing, and you say you're playing.
But Roy, you probably had a bit of that. You wouldn't be rested. I mean, I never saw you rested hardly.
Sometimes when you get to 31, 32, and obviously we're a bit older, a bit wiser now.
You feel like,
you have to sometimes say to a player about looking at the bigger picture.
And that's been
we're on about missing the odd game.
Yeah.
I'm not saying leave him up.
I don't disagree with you, but certain characters.
So, for example, England will have 2 friendly games before the World Cup, won't they?
Yeah.
2 friendly games. Miss one of them. Just sit down.
Miss 2 of them.
And it's not just the physical stuff, it's the mental side of it. And then you're giving other players an opportunity. Sorry, Wayne, you're giving other players an opportunity to say, listen, if he is missing, you'll be ready.
Yeah.
It's not easy, yeah.
But that happened. I got rested in the League Cup final against Aston Villa. Got rested in the FA Cup semi-final against Everton when he was in the squad.
How old were you then, Wazza?
14.
Mid-20s. Mid-20s.
Mid-20s. Yeah.
Because we had Champions League games coming up.
At school the next day.
Still scoring goals
next week.
So going to school.
I want to touch upon what Carragher said there first of all when he talked about Alan Shearer and Harry Kane. Alan Shearer was an absolute monster. He was absolutely ruthless, and I suppose, he kind of does have a point in that Harry Kane scored loads of goals for a crap team. Alan Shearer scored loads of goals for a crap team. So they do have that in common. And Harry Kane does seem to have more about his game. Does Harry Kane get more assists than Alan Shearer did? And yeah, what's the question? Who's the better goal scorer? Who's the better finisher? How would Alan Shearer fare in today's game? Because that's also something to factor in. Because today's game is tailored very much towards the attackers. You can't really sort of go lunging in tackles or anything like that. And the defenders are not as good in today's game, and everything's more about tactics and all of that kind of stuff. But Alan Shearer was faster. I would say Alan Shearer was more ruthless, and he played in an era where defenders went for your knees. Alan Shearer was up against prime Sol Campbell, prime Tony Adams, prime Steve Bruce, prime Jaap Stam, all those guys, just to name a few. And it was a lot tougher back then as well. If you put prime Alan Shearer in today's game and you put him in a Bayern Munich team, today's Bayern Munich team, or you put him in Real Madrid's team or Man City's team, Alan Shearer scoring 60 goals a season easily. He's getting Messi and Ronaldo numbers as well. So I would argue that Alan Shearer was a more ruthless striker. But Harry Kane is a better all-round footballer, and Harry Kane kind of suits today's game a lot more than Alan Shearer does, because Harry Kane can bring other players into play, because the wingers in today's game are more like inside forwards. So they need a big target man up front that can sort of feed them in. So Harry Kane's quite good at that as well, whereas Alan Shearer might not be as good as that because he'd be more concerned with scoring goals himself. So it's an interesting comparison to me, to be fair. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to say that Alan Shearer was the more ruthless striker, probably the better goal scorer, but Harry Kane's probably the better player all round. So yeah. A lot like sort of the difference between Roy Keane and Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney is the much better attacker, but Roy Keane was the much better all-round footballer. So yeah, that's a crude example on that front. But yeah, in terms of Harry Kane, where does he rank in England greats? I mean, is he a better all-round player than Brian Robson, than Kevin Keegan, Bobby Charlton? Better than David Beckham? Maybe. Better than Wayne Rooney? No, I'm not having that. He's not a better player than Wayne Rooney. Has he done better for England than Wayne Rooney? Yeah, fair enough. I think so. Yeah, he won the Golden Boot, took England to a World Cup semi-final, and he took England to 2 Euros finals, so he's achieved more than for England than what Wayne Rooney did, unfortunately. But if you put Wayne, again, it depends on eras, because Wayne Rooney's era was let down by the tactics, where England in the past few tournaments have done quite well tactically speaking, even though like the tactics let them down in the end. They have done better than previous generations as well. So I'm going to stick with Wayne Rooney is the better player than Harry Kane, but Harry Kane's done better for England than Wayne Rooney. I think that's a fair, brutally honest opinion from the Big D on that front. Harry Kane a better player for England than Brian Robson? Yeah, you've got to say that, because Brian Robson didn't really do anything for England, really. I mean, he got injured, unfortunately, when the going got tough. Not Brian Robson's fault necessarily. He was just unlucky, not playing in the '86 game against Maradona, Argentina's Maradona. Maradona's Argentina, and he got sent home early from Italia '90 as well. Better than Bobby Charlton? No, I'm not having that. Not yet. Bobby Charlton pretty much single-handedly took England to a World Cup final, and England won the World Cup final. And if you go back and look at the documentaries, Alf Ramsey used Bobby Charlton to mark Beckenbauer out of the game, which proved ultimately crucial in England winning the World Cup in 1966. And they nearly done it again 4 years later, but a little bit of hubris from England's perspective when they were 2-0 up. I think it was 2-0. And they took Bobby Charlton off, and when they did that, it freed up Beckenbauer, and then Germany went on to win. So no, he hasn't achieved Bobby Charlton level status yet. No, because that's the thing. If you are going to be considered a great player for any particular team, you have to win the big trophies and being the main man in the big games, making the difference in the big games that wins the big trophies. And he hasn't quite done that yet. However, if England manage to get to a World Cup final in the USA, and if England win 2-1 and Harry Kane scores the winning goal, he doesn't even have to score the winning goal. If he scores in the final or gets the assist and is England's top scorer in the World Cup final, and they win the World Cup, then you can probably say Harry Kane is England's greatest ever player. But he's got to get the medal. You need to get the medal, or else you'll always be a kneeling man for the nation. It's like Roberto Baggio. Roberto Baggio is probably Italy's greatest ever player. Certainly the most talented. but he missed the penalty in the 94 World Cup final and he's always remembered as Italy's nearly man. Unfortunately. So Harry Kane, that's what he needs to do. So he's not quite there yet as England's greatest ever player, but he is close and he could achieve that status within the next, 6 months or so. But what do you guys think? Do you think Harry Kane has already done enough to be England's greatest ever player? And if not, what do you think he needs to do to achieve that status? And if he hasn't achieved that status, tell me why. Thoughts in the comments, and the Big D will see you in the next one.